Hello, I want to start this video, the first video of my new determination to use my YouTube channel. I wanted to start today with the thing that's most on my mind, which is death, actually. I think death is on a lot of people's minds. It flips through our thoughts as we go through the day, and when other people die, it can frighten us. It doesn't have to, but it often does, because it shows us that we are mortal as well. When I talk about death, I'm really talking about a specific death of my son Costya, who died a few months ago in February, and this is 2023. It's now September, and I of course left all my thinking and my processing till after the summer because I had so many exhibitions to do. I had back-to-back exhibitions, my Addicts and Those Who Love Them, and even my A Graceful Death exhibition, which I haven't shown for a couple of years. I showed that in May this year in Brighton. The Addicts and Those Who Love Them, which is a poignant exploration into addiction, which I started because I wanted to understand Costya. I wanted to understand why he took drugs, why he drank, why he was the way he was, why it was all happening, and what could I do about it, and how could I know more. I learnt, well, you learn quickly but you don't believe it, that I can't do anything about it, and that business of being powerless over addiction is actually true. I was powerless, I am powerless over somebody else's addiction. I didn't think very much about this because I went on tour with the Addicts and Those Who Love Them, which was poignant too because all these months of exhibiting, I was with all the people who I'd interviewed and painted portraits of who were suffering from addiction, who were working in addiction, and people would say, why, if your son's just dead, are you here in this big exhibition surrounded by portraits of addicts and all their words on the paintings? And I think it's because I was with Kostya's people. These were his people. Kostya had died, and instead of me sinking into a quiet space to find my grief and find my way forward, I put it on hold a little bit because I had all these exhibitions to do, which I could have cancelled, but it would have been so awkward. It would be much better for me to just do them, and I decided to do them. So I went up to all these places, to London, to Wandsworth, to Brighton, to Edinburgh, and I surrounded myself with Kostya's people, all the people who deal with and of and in addiction, and it was very comforting. What I understood by making myself public and putting myself on Twitter and putting everything about Kostya's death and the process between his death and his funeral on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, which was quite a new thing for me because I never used Twitter, I found that people were coming to me and telling me their stories, and they were exactly the same position as me. And I had just lost my son. The enormity had only just begun to dawn on me, but I was exhibiting and working and not accessing it. So many people came to the exhibition to talk about what had happened to them, same story. And I felt enormously comforted and enormously challenged by this, because I thought, this is terrible. There are so many people dying of overdoses, so many people who are dying of drugs and alcohol and addictions. And what is left? What is left is a traumatized, grieving family, and a death that was so slow and destructive and unkind and dark and painful and lonely and drawn out and frightening. These were the deaths that I was hearing about at the Addicts and Those Who Love Them exhibitions over the summer, and I who had just lost my own son. And I'm thinking, we need to do something about this. But then what? You know, what can you do about addiction? What can you do about it? Well, the only thing I can do is to use art and words. That's what my gift is to use painting and words, and that's what I will do when I'm ready. So back to thinking about death. Death, I don't think, is the end. I think it's terrible to lose somebody, and the first big loss that I had was in 2007, where I lost my beloved partner Steve, and I went into the pits of despair. I was so unable to see anything clearly. It was my first experience of utter and total loss, where before Steve had died I thought love conquers all and love will save him and love will save me. Well, it might have saved us in many spiritual ways, but it didn't save his body from actually going ahead and dying of cancer, just like we knew it should and would. Now, many years later, and 6 deaths further on, the latest being Costya, I don't feel the trauma I felt about death in the beginning. I feel sad and I feel lost, and I feel mostly that the life that has gone should have been more and I could have known my son more. But I'm not angry that he's gone, and I know he's better where he is. The person who's suffering is me. I miss him. I wish he was here. That's his coat on the wall. So I think I've probably talked enough. This is the first video which I'm putting up, and this one I'm going to leave you on a happier note. I had a dream the other night where I was talking to my other 2 children, and next to me there was a chair and Costya appeared in it, and I was so delighted to see him. I wanted to put my arms around him, but instead all I could do was try and look at his face and catch his eye and think, my boy is here. And he was talking, but I couldn't hear what he was saying, and I was trying to tell the other 2 children, Kostya's here, look, he's here. He's mumbling, but he's here, and they couldn't see or hear him. Then Kostya looked at me and said, what you need is forgiveness. And I took it to mean he needed to forgive himself, I needed to forgive myself, my other 2 children needed to forgive themselves. In fact, forgiveness was the way forward. So perhaps I'll leave you with that. Forgiveness and love. See you soon.